Hi everyone. Today, savory pot roast. Oh, it's so good. Perfect Sunday afternoon meal or even any other night to impress somebody or something, or just want a good old-fashioned home-cooked pot roast. With all the trimmings, we're going to make it right now. And it's easier than you think. Okay, here's your list of ingredients. Hit pause, write them down. Now here's how I made it. Okay, the day before I'm going to do all my prep work so that it can cook all day tomorrow. First thing I'm going to do is cut off the tops, and then I want to cut off where the green goes away here, because the white part basically is tough and has no flavor whatsoever. And the only reason I'm using celery is for the flavor. Okay, finish up the celery and put it in a bowl. And now you're going to peel your potatoes. And we're going to get all this done so we can fill the bowl with water and put it in the refrigerator overnight. You do want to get the ends. You want to get the whole thing all the way around, watching for spots like that. See, it's a little bit dug in. Most of them have some kind of tip on the end or tool that you can use to dig those out without wasting as much of the actual potato, you see? And it is very, very, very common to find bad spots. It's no big deal. Doesn't ruin the potato. See, right there's a bad spot. You see that? Just chip away at it. Sometimes you gotta dig it out, sometimes you can do that. Just depends on how much potato you want to waste. Okay. See, and those are not bad spots. That's just a low spot on the potato. So it's a little bit of skin still on there because it's in a divot or a hole. Okay, now you've got your potatoes and your celery, and you go over to the sink, and we need to wash these off. The potatoes, they just get yucky from you cutting. The celery still has dirt on it from the farm, and they do not charge you extra for the dirt. That farmer's dirt, that's important stuff. Anyway, now you cut up your potatoes, and as I've said before, if you want more detailed on this, you can see my earlier videos. I went into great detail for the beginner cooks. What's important here now is that you cut them all the same size, about a 1/4 inch cubes, and you put them in the bowl. You want everything about the same surface area, about the same thickness, as much as you can, so that they cook evenly. And the same goes for the celery. Just cut them in the little half moons there. Now, if you have one that's too thick, too wide, then slice it in half long ways, like you just saw me do, so that you get smaller pieces. You want everything smaller than a nickel. Not too small, but about a nickel size. And we're going to put all of that in there too, in the bowl. Now the carrots, same thing. We're going to just peel those with the peeler. Don't worry about the ends too much. Get up to the end, but don't worry about the end, because see, now you're going to cut the ends off, both ends, and throw those away. Now the carrots, you're going to slice them up, and you want nothing bigger. Now there's a bad spot right there. And that happens sometimes. That's not a problem. See, I just ran the thing over one more time. It's gone. As I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted, nothing bigger than a nickel. Okay, that's what you're shooting for here. Now this one, see, I'm cutting diagonally. Looks a little better, but it's because the carrot is so small. See that? It's so small when you cut it straight that, I don't know, it gets lost. As soon as the carrot gets back up to about a nickel diameter, change your blade sideways so you cut straight. Now the carrot's gotten thicker, so we slice the carrot in half, and that makes them, less than a nickel. Now sometimes the end of it gets so big that you got to cut it again, make it quartered, and then you just keep cutting in. That way you have the small size pieces. Now, when you're all done with this, you put it in a bowl, and then you take the bowl and you kind of mix the ingredients together just a little bit, and you cover it with water. Has to be completely covered. Don't let anything stick up out of the water. I'm using 2 small jalapenos because I couldn't find a large. We take all the seeds out for this dish because we're looking for the flavor here, not the heat. And you want to then slice them up, and the important part is here to slice them exactly the same thickness, and the length doesn't matter. Just cut them the same thickness. Then you turn them sideways, and you can cut them flat like that and make them square cubed, very small ones. You don't want them to bite into a meal and find this in their mouth. They will not be happy with you. Okay, that's the important thing. Now you're going to cut up some onion, slice it, and then dice it, and you want small pieces. Personally, I like to have them different sizes. I like the taste of the onion, so a big piece once in a while is good. But know who you're serving, especially if you're on a date. Onions can cause other issues, bad breath, and even gas. So be careful who you're serving. All right, garlic, you need to take the skin off and then dice it up as tiny as possible. That's something you really don't want to have in your mouth. Smashing it is good, gets the oil coming out of it. And we call this the dry ingredients because we are not going to keep them in the refrigerator in water. You're going to put them in a Ziploc baggie or in a bowl and put a lid on the bowl, but not underwater. Okay, you need to keep them dry, and also stop the air from getting to it so it doesn't dry out. Okay, so now you have everything cut, all your vegetables ready for the next step. Okay, I have this beautiful chuck roast here. What do we got? 5.5 pounds, and it's going to shrink quite a bit. All this marble, it's fat, it looks like marble. That cooks out, adds a lot of flavor, so don't delete, don't cut it off. And the whole thing will shrink down to about almost half, not quite. So what I'm going to do for tonight is take some of this mixture I've got here, call it my own special recipe. Actually, you're part of a test. Normally I just use onion powder for this and put some jalapeno on top of it, but I'm doing a little experiment today. Get my hand free here. I'm using my onion powder along with some Head Country seasoning to give it a little bit of a barbecue background taste, at least I hope. That's an experiment, we'll see. But I used about 2 tablespoons of the barbecue Head Country mix, and I used 1 tablespoon of onion powder, and I mixed them together very well in that small bowl. And now I'm trying to infuse that mixture into the meat. Poured about half of it on here. Try and get it spread around and worked down into the meat. That's why I'm using a fork. It makes it easier to mix those 2 powders in a bowl, but it also works it down into the meat better than your rounded fingers.
Okay, next step is to flip it upside down. Okay, wipe off my hands and then pour the rest of it on. So cover that up and put it in the refrigerator overnight. Okay, it's early the next morning. I have some pumpkin bun cake for dessert. I have chopped onion and couple of whole slices, garlic. Got my meat that we wrapped up after seasoning last night. 2 crock pots because we're having so much food here and we got some company coming over and some like onion and some don't. Our potatoes and carrot and vegetable mixture here. Now the first thing we got to do is drain off all that water that I told you to cover it with last night. I've already drained a little and they thought, oh, I better stop and film. So here we go. Okay, so that's some cold water, I'll tell you. I should have just put the lid on it and left it crack. So this one, I'm going to put a whole piece of celery and half of my vegetables here. And the other half over here. Okay. I'm going to spread those out. Then, chopped onion. Oh, that smells good. Put that in here. Mix it in a little bit. Oh, wait a minute. The onion one, put in some diced celery. Also, I'll put my big one in the no onion, because people who like the onion can eat the other, but people who don't like onion, they can't eat the onion one. So put the smaller one in the onion there. Okay. Now, my minced up garlic. I want to kind of pat that in there. Let that kind of help season the meat. And then we'll get everything else too as it cooks. And then the next thing to go in there on my onion side, so I'll just lay that on there, help season the meat better. Okay, now add our seasoning, and we're going to mix that in a glass of water, and we're going to pour it just on the edges, not on top of the meat. We don't want to rinse away all the seasoning on the meat. Pour it over here on the side so it goes down below into the potatoes. First we're going to start off with some water. Okay. And then we're going to pour this into the water. Because the object here is to dissolve it. Get myself a fork. I think works better than a spoon because of the tines. It allows the water to go in between the tines and dissolve the powder better. Okay. Okay. There, now, having poured that in, get a little more water here. Help get the rest of that flavoring out of the cup. But the thing is, you want enough water to cover the potatoes only, not the meat. The meat should be sitting high and dry above the potatoes. You don't want the meat to boil, you want the meat to cook. Okay, now all we got to do is cover it up, plug it in, put it on low, and we will have some scrumptious, delicious, succulent roast for dinner.
I like to serve it with some Hawaiian sweet rolls. But there you go. Hot, succulent, delicious, ready to go. Remember the dessert. Thanks for coming along with me.